Yo. It's your brother Netta Nature here with a very special, important episode of the new podcast titled The Elect. And we're going to be getting into the lost files today that's been hidden from the masses on purpose, okay? With me today, I have some very special, important guests with me. I got the God FaroAdonis in the building, and we got GodBodyjd in the building. Let's get it.
Yo, peace, love, and life, family. It's FaroAdonis, better known as GodBodyjd, on all platforms, also all handles, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and all the music platforms. Roadrunner GDO. I'm here with Netta Nature and GodBodyjd, and we here to get it in for sure.
Yes, sir.
GodBodyjd, peace be upon the Prophet Muhammad. Stream my music streaming on all platforms. Go get that All or Nothing mixtape on iTunes. Yeah, man, it's a blessing to be here with my boy Gito and my boy E, formerly known as Nature and T.I. Let's get it.
Yes, sir. Let's get right to it. All right, now I'm going to be touching on the lost files that's been hidden specifically in the Bible today, because I know that Christianity has put a lot of us in shackles, okay? And I used to be a Christian myself for almost 18, 19, 20 years, okay? So I know how it is, trust me. So my first point I want to get into, starting with the Bible, we might as well start with Genesis, that being generations of ISIS. We're going to get into this Adam and Eve story, okay? This is one of my favorite talking points because I got so many ways to go with this convo. Now, one of you all correct me if I'm wrong. In that Genesis story, they explain how Adam and Eve was in the Garden of Eden, and a serpent, coerced Eve into eating fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, let's break this down all the way to the T, okay? Now, when we looking at the serpent, we want to realize that the serpent is a godly figure, not a devilish figure, not Satan or what you would like to call it. When we look into our ancestors of the great Nile Valley civilization, our ancestors on what? Angkor Wat civilization in Southeast Asia, even our ancestors over here on Turtle Island, all deified the serpent. They all used the snake and the serpent to show inner strength and to symbolize the Kundalini rising up the spine, the 33rd vertebrae. And it was a symbol of power. So the pharaohs would wear the serpent on top of their ureus, and it symbolized what area they ruled over, and it symbolized the inner strength that they had. Now, in this religion that was given to us by our mothers or grandmothers, we must realize that grandma don't always know what's best, you know. Mama don't always know what's best. We got to come to terms that slavery wasn't too long ago. So we just now coming into awakening, coming into true knowledge of self. So we need to understand that, very importantly, that we've been lied to, okay? We've been lied to very harshly, and we've been lied to the point where we don't even know our origin. We believe that we come from a man. Even women believe that they come from a rib of a man, which is literally impossible, ununiversal, okay? We know that all life starts with woman, and we know that your mother would be your first God. If your mother don't feed you, if your mother don't take care of you, you're gonna die. Or whoever is taking care of you at that time in your infant stages. That is your most high, I would say. That who's feeding you, that's who's making sure you are safe, and that's who's taking care of you. That would be your most high. Not a mysterious God, which we would describe as a man. When you're describing the Most High or God, for one, it really can't be a gender. Genders are more on the lower 3D, third dimensional realm. You have to understand that with these principles comes duality. So with the Almighty Creator, we would be looking at both aspects of feminine and masculine put together, which would be duality, to create what people would consider the Most High, or that energy which is the Most High, because from that energy derives feminine and masculine. But when we're looking at life today and giving birth, we know that women give birth, men don't give birth. Even though they're trying to today on some weird shit, men don't give birth. Women is giving birth. They've been giving birth, and they will always give birth. Mm-hmm. So when we're looking at the origin of where we come from, remember, you come from your mother, not Adam, Rhea, okay? When we're looking at Adam, we're looking at the atom. When we're looking at Eve, we're looking at the mitochondrial Eve gene, okay? The stories in the Bible are metaphysical and metaphorical. So you have to know how to weave through it and basically discern. You have to have good discernment to see where they playing with you at, because they really are playing, okay? Now, before I tear up this Bible, I want to get into the God of the Bible. I want to get into who supposedly this God that we pray to, ask him to do things for us. Now, in this Bible, I want to get into this one scripture. Let me see. What is this scripture? Ephesians 6, verse 5. Okay, if you have a Bible, turn to that. Ephesians 6, verse 5. We are looking at, and this is coming from so-called God, or like the whatever they would consider God. It states, slaves, obey your earthly masters with respect and fear and with sincerity of heart, just as you would obey Christ. Let me repeat that. Ephesians 6, verse 5. It states, slaves, obey your earthly masters with respect and fear and with sincerity of heart, just as you would obey Christ. Now, if you would ask me, it looks like it's the devil trying to play God. Because when we look at the 400 years of slavery that we went through, what were our ancestors doing? Praying to that God that we was indoctrinated in to come save us. And who was the slave master praying to? The same God. So the slave master praying to the same deity that the slaves are also praying to. We must really come to terms with this, okay? There's been a lot of tricks going on and a lot of misconceptions going on. So now, let me go to another verse where the so-called Most High, or the God of the Bible, which they depict as a man, is giving out orders to kill. Okay, we have here, what's this? Deuteronomy 17:12. Deuteronomy 17:12 states, anyone arrogant enough to reject the verdict of the judge or of the priest who represents the Lord your God must be put to death. Such evil must be purged from Israel. Let me repeat that. This is Deuteronomy 17, verse 12. Anyone arrogant enough to reject the verdict of the judge or of the priest who represents the Lord shall be put to death, and such evil must be purged from Israel. Now, this is supposed to be your God that's saying basically you don't conform to the teachings of this priest, or you don't conform to the teachings of Jesus or Christianity, you will be put to death and you will die. And that's exactly what happened. Many of Africans were killed and put to death over this religion. Okay, let's get that straight. And we know that the origins of Christianity run deep in Ethiopia, but not the Christianity you're thinking of. These were Gnostic Christians talking about the teachings of the prophet Yeshua. Gnostic Christians meaning They had esoteric Christianity, which means they knew that the God above is the God within you. They understood that. This is not the same Christianity that is taught today. This is a perverted form of Christianity, and we must understand that we are being bamboozled. Okay. Another verse that talks about the killings that this so-called God is ordering. What's this other one? We got Leviticus 20:13. Now this is crazy. This states, if a man lies with a male as with a woman, both of them shall be put to death for their abdominal deed. They have forfeited their lives. Let me repeat that. If a man lies with a male as the same with a woman, both of them shall be put to death for their abdominal deed. They have forfeited their lives. This is supposed to be God's word. Now, we know that homosexuality is not, I would say, natural to our culture, but we also know that we have free will in this universe, okay? So if that's how you rock, that's how you rock. But this religion is saying, no, kill those who choose to do that. And that is completely distortion of the natural laws of the universe. We have free will. You can rock out how you rock. But this Bible is telling you, if you don't conform to the teachings of God, so-called conform to the teachings of Jesus, you will be put to death. Okay? And if you're homosexuality, you will be put to death also. Okay? Now, I know we heard about the story of Moses on Mount Sinai with the 10 Commandments and how he burned the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah to the ground because what? Because they were worshiping the idols, that they like to call it. They were worshiping the gods they've been worshiping for thousands of years. And they weren't conforming to Jesus, so-called, or the one true God, they like to call it, of Christianity. Okay, now I need y'all to sit on that for a minute, okay? And really digest that in. When we talking about God, I don't even like using the word God because that is a Greek word. That's why I use NTR. NTR is nter, which means divine power. That is what was used by our ancestors, not the word God. And because God is not describing much. We're not describing right facts. We're not describing much when we say God. We will have to say the ultimate prime creator or the ultimate supreme energy force. When we talking about God, I'm a God. The kings I'm with on right now are gods. My girl at the crib is a goddess. My mother is a goddess. Long live my father, he was a god.
For sure.
Okay? So we must understand that we have to connect to the supreme universal force, not God. Connect to the God within yourself. Okay? Don't look up in the sky for a God. Connect to the God within yourself. And when you look into the sky, you're looking at the supreme universal force or the supreme energy that is within inside all of us. Okay? I just had to start it off with that. I'm kicking it to the guys.
All right, so I'm going to go back into Genesis and the serpent, right?
That's
so
right.
I believe you mentioned basically how the roles are reversed between God and the devil. If you haven't,
I ain't even get into that yet, God.
look, it's two brothers in the Sumerian text named Enki and Enlil, and they got a sister named Ninasag, right? So I'm really getting into the creation story here with the Adam and Eve thing. So based off what I've looked into, Enki would basically be playing the role of the serpent in that story, and Enlil would be playing the role of the god, even though in the Sumerian text, Enki and Enlil, I guess, hold opposite reputations to those two titles, right?
Right.
So And Lil is really the one that you really speaking on, giving the orders to kill, and Enki is the one that had, according to the Sumerian text, Enki is the one really that got the sympathy for the Adam and Eve of that story and tell them to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil so that they know that they not just these slave humanoids that's, you feel me, slave to the God of the Bible, right? I also want to touch on the rib of Ninasog. That's what I'm gonna call it, cause based off the Sumerian text, Ninasog is really the one that holds Adam for the term of what, 9-10 months.
Yep, 10 months.
10 months. She held Adam for 9 to 10 months, and then she had Adam. And I see where the rib basically coming into play in the story as the DNA molecule. You get what I'm saying? Like the DNA molecule looking like a rib. You feel me? If it was depicted or if it was drawn type shit.
Right.
So I would rather people look into the story of Enki and Lil, and then the really the Anunnaki as a whole when you reading Genesis, because basically the introduction story in the Sumerian tablets is the story of Genesis. You feel me? The generations of Isis. So I just wanted to touch on that. I might touch on knowing your origin and your ancestry in a little bit, but I'm gonna kick it to JD.
I like that. Before you get live, JD, let me clarify. The young king brought up the Sumerian text that predates the Bible by at least 12,000 years. Okay, predates the Bible by at least 12,000 years, and they are talking about a creation story in the Sumerian text. Let me get that out to y'all. Y'all need to understand that. All right, go ahead, JD.
Yeah, everything. I mean, everything originates. You know, you can't say that create. Don't get me wrong. A man can help bring forth creation, but he can't do it without a woman. You know?
For sure.
But you know, if you take motherfucking the sun for example, you know, the sun, it moves around through the black hole and it gives off solar flares, radiation, and but the sun can't move around without, you know, without that without space, you know. Shit.
And would you, not to cut your wisdom, God, would you be talking about dark matter energy?
Like dark matter, yeah.
Right. And would that energy be feminine?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, like, because the sun, behind the sun, we pray to the sun, because the sun give us strength and shit. But what's behind the sun is black hole. You know, that serious beast star, and that's like the divine feminine principle.
Right.
You can't touch on no higher dimension without tapping in with the feminine principle. You know. Yeah. That's pretty much all I got to say about that.
I like that. Now, get back into this Bible. I'm not going to be on it for long. But while I'm on it, I must touch on this because this is important, okay? And many of us who have claimed to be Christians never read the Bible, okay? we just listen to what the pastors say, listen to what mama say, you know, and we haven't really dove into the book that governs our spirituality, well, that governed our spirituality, so-called. So let me break down a couple more verses. We got John 10, verse 34. And this is Jesus answering them. This is so-called Jesus speaking the words out of Jesus' mouth. Has it not been written in your law? I said, you are gods. Another version, Jesus replied, it is written in your own scriptures that God said to certain leaders of the people, I say you are gods. Now, what is that saying? Exactly what it said. Ye are gods. You are divine. That divine universal energy is within you. Okay, let's get that straight. And what we got, Psalms 82 also says, thus says the Lord. Who is the Lord? So-called Jesus Christ. Okay, thus says the Lord, ye are gods and children of the Most High. Let me repeat that. Okay, ye are gods and children of the Most High. This is what Jesus is saying in the Bible. Okay, he's not saying that you are less of a God and you have to pray to a God in the sky, which is a man, to answer your wishes. Just wishing for stuff, hoping that a man God in the sky at that is answering your wishes. Now we need to break that down, because throughout history, or not deep history, but recent history with slavery, we need to look at what was going on. What were we doing? We were praying to that God to come deliver us from slavery, while the slave master was praying to that God to keep his goddamn plantation going. Okay? Now, we know that we fought our way out of slavery. We know that we used black magic to get out of slavery. The Haitian Revolution was won on black magic, or voodoo, as what some people might like to call it. And what do they do in this religion? They try to demonize voodoo, what you use to get out of fucking slavery. Now, in this religion, they are telling you, do not use the powers you use to get out of slavery. Let me re-enslave you and scare you away from your true natural self. Okay, we must understand that. We must really understand that. Black magic is not evil. It can be used for evil because it's energy. The energy can be used to the left, or it can be used to the right, or you can be balanced with it. But at the end of the day, they like to demonize the great works that we accomplish to keep us docile and scared to tap back into that knowledge. They got us scared to call ourselves gods out here. People scared to have conversation about God. How are you scared to have a converse? Like, it just doesn't add up. We must really take accountability and understand that we've been bamboozled, and it is up to us to break the curse. Okay, for our sons, our daughters, their sons, their daughters, and as the lineage goes on, we must break that curse, and that's what we kind of been doing already. A lot of the younger millenniums are not religious. Okay, even though they might be into some other ununiversal shit and some fucked up shit, they not concentrated in religion, because off back it just doesn't make sense. We are getting out of this Pisces age, which is the age of believing. That is the age of you heavy in your belief on something without even trying to basically know the real facts. We are moving into the age of Aquarius. We will fully be there by, I say, what's that? 2036?
I ain't sure myself.
Yeah, I believe around 2036, we will fully be into the age of Aquarius, which is the age of knowing. And as we know, these celestial constellations rule, when celestial zodiacs rule or govern our daily lives and govern our thinking patterns. Because what? We are made of the cosmos. The cosmos is within us, so the cosmos governs us. Okay? Now, we also need to understand that, oh yeah, back on the point I was saying on how they like to demonize our stuff. When we look at Egypt, a lot of people, not a lot, but many people think evil. When we looking at the triangle, we looking at the pentagram, we looking at a lot of these sacred symbols that are really powerful, that have been used for evil, manipulated to fuck us over, really, are really symbols that we created, that are very powerful, that we can tap into etheric energy around us. Okay, now we must understand that it's polarity with this. You can't have the good without the bad, you can't have the bad without the good, but you must be balanced. You must be balanced. Okay, you have to understand that you can use this energy force for what some would say negative, or you could use it for what some would say positive. Because at the end of the day, yeah, we all try to strive to be good and high vibrational, but it is a time where our lower selves would have to come out if need be. You can't just be in your higher self 24/7. You have to be balanced and understand that your lower self, which some people would call the devil, and your higher self, which some people would call the God, have to be at balance with each other. You have to have control over both aspects, okay? And bring them out when need be. Kick it to one of y'all.
All right, so as far as being a god, gods and goddesses, you triggered a thought while you were talking, really back on generations of Isis and the story of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And I want more people to really, when they do read the Bible, if they, I know most don't, but when you get a hold of the Bible, really read that story and understand that the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is, like, everybody talks about Eve biting the apple, but nobody pays attention to the fact that was the apple was literally like the key to unlocking her God power and Adam's God power in the story. That's why it's called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and not just the tree of good and evil or the tree of right or wrong or nothing like that. It's the tree of the awareness of it. And once you fully aware of the totem pole from good to bad, once you're aware, you get to decide with all of your willpower, with all of your free will, whether you want to be on this side of the totem pole, that side of the totem pole, here on the totem pole, or anywhere in between. And that's what I feel makes you separate from those that are unaware, or makes you a god or a goddess in your consciousness, or or having the access to the God conscious once you reach that awareness. But we all born with it, if you want to go with the Bible story, because Eve bit the apple. Right. We all able to be, I believe here is where you want to be on the totem pole, because, well, in your understanding of it, here's where you want to be. You always gonna exist like this. You always gonna go back and forth between here to there, good and bad, right or wrong, up and down, whatever it is. But in your understanding of the totem pole, I believe you ascend much faster or better when your understanding is here with it. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
For sure, for sure. JD, you there?
No, my shit, I had to leave out and come back in. My shit was tweaking. But yeah, I mean, really, that's just like the concept of good and evil. It's all based off perception. You know what I'm saying? It's really the law down here. We and on this physical plane, uh, we deal with the law of duality and the law of correspondence. You know, everything gonna have its opposite. You know, like something like a certain religion or something you do might be, okay, this is what I'm doing is good to me. You know what I'm saying? This helping me out, but another person probably think it's satanic or something. You know what I'm saying? Just like for take example, 666. People think that's satanic, but you can search it up. The search up carbon 12 DNA strand, and it'll break down what 666 is, the number of melanin. You know what I'm saying? And certain people have an understanding of it, and they won't see it as good or evil. They just see it for what it is. You know what I'm saying? Right. That's where you break out the law of duality, but seeing the truth, everything for what it truly is. You know. But,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But,
like you.
yeah, man, that's all I got on that. And shit, I got good and evil tatted on my fingers, and I ain't even know what it meant till later. But yeah, that's all I got on that.
Yes, sir. I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, talking about the 666 and how they basically made melanated people think that the 666 is demonic or somehow evil or the mark of the beast, as what they, I guess, say in that Bible. When in actuality, 666 is 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, being carbon 18, which is you. You are a me. We are a carbonated being. Okay, we are made up of carbon. Okay, carbon is melanin when you break that down. I'm glad you brought that up, guy. But let me get to my other point with these lost files. I want to touch on our history a little bit when we're talking about Americas or Mesoamerica. Now, many of us believe that we were brought over here on slave ships. Damn near all of us, that we were brought over here on slave ships, and that's how we got over here. But in actuality, we know that we've been over here. Yes, people were brought from different ports and ended up over here, but majority, we were here. Okay, we've been here for a long time. When we're talking about our ancestors on this Western hemisphere, what they would like to call it, we must tap into the Olmecs. Okay, we know that the Olmec Toltec civilization reigned in Mesoamerica. What, 8,000 BC? Okay, let's get that right. 8,000 BC, the Olmecs, Toltecs reigned in Mesoamerica. And we know that since most of North America was still icy, still covered in ice sheets, we know that we were more so in the central areas over there by Mexico, and that's where you get Mesoamerica from. So that's where we reigned, because most of North America was in ice sheets at this time, or upper North America was in ice sheets. So we reigned toward the lower parts of the Americas around Central and Mexico, and we were the Olmecs, later known as the Mayans. Okay, so we have very extensive, very powerful history in this Western hemisphere alone, not even mentioning our cousins on the other hemisphere. Okay, so we must understand that we are powerful, y'all. We go way back before slavery. That's a dot in our timeline, literally. We go way, way back before slavery. Okay, we were tapped in, y'all. Tapped in. The Olmecs, let me bring this up. The Olmecs, Toltecs created rubber, which what they use to play basketball or soccer. That's why carbonated men today are so great at basketball. Literally. So great at basketball, because that is in our DNA. The Olmecs created rubber, bouncing the ball off the ground, throwing it through the hoop. Games they was playing 6,000, 8,000 years ago. Let's get that straight. Okay, we have very, very, very important, powerful history over here in America. Now, when I touch on our cousins on the Eastern Hemisphere, we already know, y'all seen the pyramids. Y'all know what time it is. Okay, y'all know exactly what time it is, and no, majority of those megaliths were not just built by the so-called Israelite slaves, is what they would like to call it. They say like the Israelites were the slaves building the pyramids. Well, they say those pyramids, each one of those pyramids, each stone is 70 tons. Let's think about that. You got thousands of fucking stones in that pyramid. Each stone being 70 tons. Who the fuck is lifting that? Nobody. Nobody is lifting that. When you look into the pyramids and you study Astro Quasi and other great pioneers who have went inside those pyramids, Billy Carson being one of them, you will see that they used sound vibration to levitate things. The way the inside of the walls were built inside the pyramids, it was where sound vibrations can bounce off the wall and literally levitate. Yes, that is possible. Please don't think it's not. Along with telepathy, many of these powers we have is possible. The reason we can't do them, well, mainly because we've been on light code lockdown. A lot of our DNA has been shut off. That's why they say we have junk DNA. We only access 10% of our brain. I don't. They say we only access 10% of our brain, and we have junk DNA. So what is this junk DNA? Are these the powers that we have inside of us? Are these the universal given elements that live within inside of us? Let's really dawn on that for a second. We know that our Egyptian ancestors, Imhotep, Heru, Ptahhotep, Akhenaten, talking about Isis, Bastet, all of these mentioned Egyptians, they wasn't using no 10% of their brain. Like, come on now. They was not using 10% of their brain. They we really got to understand the power that we have, y'all. And I want to make that clear that we are powerful on both ends, and we are all related. You black or brown, you are related. Okay, let's not get mixed. Yeah, we got different nationalities and different cultures. We're really different cultures because we know that the European came in and created a race to divide us, but we know that we had cultures, especially in Africa, many different cultures, different cultures. Okay, and they like to, so they like to divide us when in actuality, we all are connected to that one consciousness, and we all can tap into what our ancestors did. That's the important part. They did it. We can do it. We can even do it better. But we must tap into our knowledge of self. And with knowledge of self, you are tapping into your ancestors because they live inside of you. Okay? Let me get that straight. Kicking it to one of y'all.
Look, I want to encourage the youth specifically because I know it's hard to fill a cup that's already full. To find power in knowing your origin, just to piggyback off what Netta Ruth saying, man. In my personal experience, growing up Christian, I'm a PK. It was all through the house. I'm going to church on Wednesday and Sunday. I went to Christian school growing up. All that. It's all in the house. But I had this weird, doubt, you feel me? Even though it was the first thing really planted in me, it still just didn't fit, you feel me? But in a way, compared to how I feel now that I'm in a state of knowing, I felt powerless, you feel me? I just felt like I was going along with the motions. And then I came to knowledge of self, which took me into the different subjects as far as history goes, religion, science, mathematics, all of that. But history really hit home because it caused me to realize I was only aware of one or two grandparents up. And also I was only aware of where my family tree went upwards as far as my immediate household goes. So the more I started looking into the history of the original man and the original goddess, I started to feel power in myself because I could identify with the people that I was learning about. So that's why I say there's power in knowing your origin. And to be honest, I had to not be so literal with myself as far as knowing specifically what tribe my great granddad came from or some shit like that, because that's lost in the history of slavery. You feel me? With all the name changes, and if we came from overseas, or if they might have took my great granddad from over here somewhere. You feel me? So I just try not to be so literal with myself. If anything, I would go do, the blood test and go see what ethnicities come up in my chart or something like that. But as of right now, I'm not satisfied, but I did find power in knowing that when you look past the slavery, the chattel slavery that we taught in school, you find kings and queens on the other side of that. You find advanced civilizations. You find math, science, architecture. You find love. You find peace. You find a lot of different things. You find things that carried on all the way to this day, even
Yes,
though
sir.
the originators don't get the initial credit for it until people like us step up to the plate to have that conversation. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that.
I like that. JD?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, shit, we was everything, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? We got so many different cultures that derives from the Africoid element, meaning it comes from Africans or African Americans, whatever you want to call us, melanated, the original man. Just like breaking it down. What I mean by that is like think about all the Native American tribes across the whole United States or North America. You know what I'm saying, and South America. Just think about all the Native American tribes.
Mm.
Uh, and it's just like with gangs and shit. You got your VLs, TVLs, your Stone. You got GDP. Yeah, bro. Us niggas, we everything, bro. You know what I'm saying, bro?
Yes, sir.
A different perspective and a different way of living. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to put that. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to say that.
I like that. Yes, sir. Now, something you brought up about, oh yeah, the Moors, and I want you to touch on this more, JD. But the Moors, I know we heard about the Moors, which is our ancestors. Okay, we have very extensive, extensive correlation to the Moors. Okay, the Moors came, civilized, and conquered Spain 700 AD. No, 711 AD, and they were there to. I think they were there to about when were they? How long they was there for, JD?
700 years, bro.
So they
Like
was
it, yeah,
1400s.
yeah. Like the Europeans started to dominate around like in the 1500s. That's when shit started going left.
Right, right. So the Moors came civilized. You got to remember they civilized because what? What were they over? They were very uncivilized over there. Very uncivilized.
Tomahawks.
Yeah. So we had to come and show them what's up. Like show them like, no, y'all
Hey
out here
JD,
tripping.
go a little more into what the Moors are. My fault, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, I was gonna kick it back to him so he can. But yeah, the Moors came, conquered, and civilized. And by that saying, you have to understand that all the people that were there were not civilized. Okay, we talking about barbarian or tomahawks, what the guy would like to call it. Go ahead, guy.
I'm saying, all right. mean, the Moors basically ancient Egyptians. Who, but we break the word Moor down to its, fundamental meaning. It just basically means being black and Muslim. You know what I'm saying? But in the Tamahus is the proper word the Egyptians used to use for the white people. And the definition of Tamahu means the foreign people who dwelt in the valley of the caverns, meaning cavemen. You see what I'm saying? So, and in the sixth dynasty, the ancient Egyptian king Pepi I was the conqueror of the Tamahus. You know, so that just lets you know how it was how it was going back then. It wasn't, we wasn't under the jurisdiction of these Europeans and their system. You know, we had our own powerful system of government going. You know, so that's all I want to say right there.
Powerful. Now let me throw a question up there.
Oh, my bad.
No, go ahead, guy.
I was gonna ask for those watching. Where do the Moors originate?
You mean like they come from Egypt, don't they?
Yeah, they come from ancient Egypt. I mean, it's really cause I mean you got so many different Moors, Berber tribes. You got the Sanhaja, the Zarawada. I think that's how you pronounce it, Zarawada. But they originate from different parts of Africa. It's just the Moors are basically the Muslim Africans who dominated and conquered Spain for that amount of time, and basically symbolized that area. You know,
Right on. I like that.
From my understanding.
I want to get to a question that was posed to me. How can we, as melanated people, tap into this information that we spitting right now, or really tap into, the works of your ancestors, or really just tap into books that will help you understand what's been going on? And one of the books I would advise people to touch into, this is one of the first books I actually had when I first started my spiritual journey, is The Destruction of the Black Civilization by William Chancellor. Let me repeat that. The Destruction of the Black Civilization by William Chancellor. That is a great book. And then the other book that I got into right after that, I believe, was Greek History is Stolen African History. Don't quote me on that, but that's similar to what the name of the book was. Greek History is Stolen African History by George H.G. James. Okay? That is a book entailing on how they stole damn near everything. Even the gods we have, they made their own gods after those gods that we have.
Facts.
So a lot of stuff was...
What's the author of the first one? William what?
William Chancellor. That is Destruction of the Black Civilization. And that just talks about how I was detailing earlier on how they literally destroyed our natural flow that we had going on. Like we were really tapped in. Remember that. When we looking at these megaliths that were built, they were all over the world. We're talking about same structures in Egypt are over here. Literally, like pyramids over here, huge pyramids. You got the Cahokia Mounds in Illinois that they say is one of the largest structures of Mesoamerica. You got Chichen Itza. All this stuff is going back at least 4,000 years ago. At least 4,000 years ago. Now we got to understand that we permeated these whole ethers, okay? Just like you will see in every ancient civilization, what did they say? Our ancestors came down from the stars and populated the four corners of the earth. That is talked about in almost every ancient civilization. When we talking about Sumerians, we talking about Egyptians, we talking about the Olmecs or the Mayans, that's what someone like to call it, or over there in the Angkor Wats in Southeast Asia, you will see that we did a lot of the same stuff. So that's how you know we was on the same type of time. We did a lot of the same stuff.
In
Built a lot of
different
this.
regions.
Yeah, and we dealt with a lot of the same deities as also the snake that I was explaining to you all earlier. The snake or Naga, the Naga, what it was referred to in Southeast Asia and Angkor Wats.
The pineal.
Yeah, the Nagas. Well, the serpent was deified all over these ethers. Okay, the serpent was deified on the Eastern Hemisphere, in Asia, in Egypt, in Mesopotamia, which is basically still one big landmass. Even though they try to separate it with names, it's still one big landmass right next to each other. And over here, we deified the serpent as well. So you got to understand that serpent has power. That serpent is very powerful, very powerful. But what did they want to do? They wanted to tell you the serpent is the devil character in the Bible that coerced Eve into eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which I don't understand why you wouldn't want to have knowledge of good or evil. I'm gonna need a Christian. I'm gonna have to bring a Christian on here so they can break it down to me. Cause I like Christians, man. Like I don't got a problem with nobody in religion. I like having or discourse with people in religion, so I can learn how they think, and I can just look at it from different perspectives. I like to look at things from different perspectives. But with Christian, let me touch on this real quick. Get this out there, so the Christians can stop calling themselves Christians. If you want to tap into the science of Yeshua, which is the original Jesus, or where they got Jesus from, Yeshua from Ethiopia, who was a prophet that never proclaimed people to bow down and worship him as the Lord and Savior. He was a prophet with teachings that he got from Egypt, his mother, because that's where around the areas he grew up. But goddamn, yeah. Damn, what was I just trying to say, God?
You was talking about you said the Christians.
Oh yeah, I was gonna get into the word Christian. So yeah,
you
need to understand that Christian comes from the French word Christian, which literally means fool or dumb person. Let me repeat that. Christian comes from the French word Christian, which means fool or dumb person. And we know that you're not fool or dumb, because I was a Christian too, so I'm not fool or a dumb person, but we're ignorant. We're very ignorant. And you're ignorant when you don't do your due diligence and you just believe what was told to you and live your life based off what was told to you without asking questions or doing your due diligence. And we know in church, we wasn't allowed to ask questions. I know I was asking a whole bunch of questions. My OG even told me, you asked a lot of questions that would never get answered. Never get answered. Okay, let's understand that. So we need questions that can get answered. We know that we all know we don't know everything. What we know is dots in a circle to universal truth. But at the same time, you need to come to answers when you're building your foundation, because you need substance. You need something that holds weight. You need something that holds truth. Okay, and that's why I deal with talking about Christianity a lot, because it's one of the main religions that detaches us from spirituality. A lot of other religions connect you to spirituality. Even though they still indoctrinate you to a certain extent, they still connect you to spirituality. Okay? Christianity is one of the main ones that disconnects you from spirituality. Sorry about that. And tells you that you have to go through Jesus in order to connect with God. They're not telling you connected to God, the ultimate creator. You have to go through Jesus to connect to God. Okay? And let me throw this out there before I kick it to you, Gito. Christianity is one of the newest religions. Let's also get that understood. One of the newest religions. You got religions going back almost 4,000, 5,000 years before Christianity. Okay? Christianity is one of the newest religions. And when our ancestors practiced what they would like to call religion, because religion is organized spirituality, it wasn't the religion you see today. Every religion we had, we were connected to the high source. The high source was within us, and we were one. Literally, we were one. We didn't have to go through a medium to get to the high source. We were already connected to the high source through that religion, through our spiritual practices. Let's get that understood. Go ahead, Gito.
That's a fact. Piggybacking on Christianity being a new religion, right?
Microphone tweaking. All right, so touching on the lost files, I want to get into a couple more points that we got to touch on when we talking about the lost files. We talking about the lost heritage, the lost energy that was disconnected from us. Now, we were taught. You got it?
Yeah, it's I used to be really having a lot of debates with Christians, folks. And I had the question, like, how do you verify? How does the book verify itself as the word of God? Like, I ain't gonna, when you was talking about Christianity being the new religion, I was just thinking like, and it shows because the book itself verifies, you know, its own credibility. And then in comparison to the old religions, where it wasn't about the credibility of the deities in it, or whether this is the covenant of this person or that person. You get what I'm saying? Like, it was more about just the connection to everything around you, inside of you, above you, below you. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
That I was just thinking about that. Like, I used to always ask them the question, like, how do you find the verification? Or how does the Bible satisfy itself to you? When what I'm saying to you is everywhere around you, inside you, above you, below you. You feel me? I just that used to throw me for a loop. But that's what I was thinking about when you was talking about it being a new religion, because I feel like it's just so new and it's so new to the world that it's not too many places you could look to find that truth. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, to actually find that truth. And then it's faith-based. Solely faith-based. Like, literally. Like, not faith as a component to it, because that comes with spirituality. You feel me? You develop your faith and spirituality when you tell yourself, I am courageous, I am determined, I am this and that. You feel me? Right. All that. Like, you do your affirmations, and you know, the more you go, the more you stick to it, the more you stand on it. And I'm losing my thought again. What was I just saying?
You was talking about how, like, Christianity is faith-based.
Faith-based. Yeah, but in Christianity, it's literally put your 100% energy into your faith. You feel me? Like, it's not just a component, it's the basis of it. So and then it contradicts itself all throughout itself as far as the book goes. You know, some Christians try to step outside of the book and walk the life of Jesus and stuff like that. But I feel like they on, like, level one of the Christ consciousness for real, the ones that's willing to step outside of the church or step outside of the book. But at the same time, then the book, being the word of God, bring you right back to, you know, don't look into too much, or don't practice the practices of other nations and all that, where it's telling you, like, don't go figuring things out for yourself. Fall humbly in front of God and ask for it and all this. So that just shows the youth of the text to me, in my eyes.
That's powerful. I like that. All right, we getting close to the hour mark. I want to say this podcast is brought to you by 378 Apparel. Okay, make sure you get The Nomos Dogon from Sekhem Apparel. We got 378 Apparel and we got Sekhem Apparel. Two clothing brands here for the collective, putting ancient sacred information on the apparel, putting sacred geometry on the apparel, putting frequency numbers on the apparel, playing with mathematics with the apparel, and we playing with energy with this apparel. You know what I'm saying?
Where I could get that? It's in your link. I mean, in your bio or something.
Yes, sir. Link in my bio on my fan link. 378 Apparel. Make sure you get you some, and make sure you get you some Sekhem. This is the Nomos Dogon, straight from Sekhem. I know you see that I had it, but the Dogon, for those who don't know,
It's on
Dogon
the
is
second ink page. My bad. I ain't trying to cut you off.
it's on the it's on the link, God.
It's on Sekhem Ink.
Yeah.
All right,
And
on IG.
it's on my Hugh mantra too.
All right.
But the Dogon is an ancient African civilization that later became the Egyptians, and the Dogons are some powerful people. Let me explain. They basically the predecessors of the Dogons, which was told by the Dogons, their ancestors, which they called the Nomos. The Nomos coming from the Sirius B star constellation. I know y'all hear me talk about Sirius B. Let me explain. The Nomos came from the Sirius B star constellation, right? They came, and with that being said, with them coming from the Sirius star constellation, they would be extraterrestrial. Okay? We talking about extraterrestrials. Came to the Dogons, and then later the Dogons basically became the Nomos. The Nomos are the Dogon. Let me say that. They came to the earlier Dogons, and as the Dogons developed, they basically inherited the knowledge of the Nomos. Now, the Dogons later became the Egyptians. Now, when we're looking at this, we basically see that with the Egyptians, we see a lot of extraterrestrial activity. Okay, we see pyramids being built symmetrically with the constellations. We see hieroglyphs detailing spaceships on the hieroglyphs. So what is that saying? That's saying that we have connection to these extraterrestrials, or what someone like to call it, but we're looking at it too hard. All extraterrestrial is outer Earth. So you can't be thinking of a big-headed, big-eyed, gray person. You have to think of yourself when you're thinking of an extraterrestrial. Okay? Think of a carbonated black or brown man as an extraterrestrial from outer Earth, coming from higher dimensions, coming from different, from the cosmos, okay? Coming from the cosmos. That's why today they try to say we have unlocked DNA. How is our DNA locked? That's what we got to think about. How did our DNA become locked? Because why would the ultimate creator create us without the capability to use our capabilities? That just doesn't add up. So we got to understand that we are very extraterrestrial. Okay, very extraterrestrial. Don't think all spooky with it. That's just think of black people flying those spaceships. For real. Really think of black people flying those spaceships. And when you look into science, correct me if I'm wrong, one of y'all, they found on Mars, they found the Ankh symbol on Mars, and also, they found a spacecraft with a woman in it with dreads, in basically an alien spacecraft that so-called crashed on the Earth so long ago, whatever they say. In that spacecraft was a black woman who was already deceased, body was already deteriorated, but the dreads on her head was still there, and they were able to confirm that was a black person. Okay, let me get that straight. That was a black person on that spacecraft. So we are very extraterrestrial. Okay, let's get that clear. We are very, very extraterrestrial, coming from that Sirius star constellation. The Sirius star constellation. Now, like I said earlier, other civilizations also talk about their ancestors coming from the stars. It wasn't just the Dogons or what later known as the Egyptians. We have over here in Mesoamerica, the Mayans or Olmecs talking about their ancestors coming from above. So we got to understand that we are very tapped in with the Most High, and we are descendants of the Most High. Okay? Kicking it to you, Jito. Hold on. Let me see it. JD, you there?
Yo,
You in the car?
no, I was sun gazing.
Go ahead, talk about the
He just
download.
lagged. I think he just lagged out.
Bro, I got this little Kabbalah prayer. I forgot what it was called, like the buzz something. But I got that shit from Bro Yusuf. I was doing it. I think I seen some shit. I think I seen a spaceship or something after I did the one for Chessie. Come fly by the sun and disappear. I don't know yet. I want to see something again. That's why I'm looking hard as hell. But yeah, man, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. The sun just not finally coming out today, man.
I see it. You making me want to go outside.
Hell yeah, I got my sunglasses on and everything, bro. But I mean, you know, it been a reason why they spraying the skies. I feel like at a time like right now, I don't know, the sun might be at its most powerful point. Cause when they be spraying the skies, it be for a reason. Like it be for a reason why they are spraying. You know, they be using I forgot what it's called, the harp system or something. I know, cause I know, bro. The earth is actually hot, bro. You know what I'm saying? And the earth actually hot, bro. You know, if they wasn't using the harp system or something, I guarantee it'll be down there like Africa in this joint. You know what I'm saying? That's just my opinion, bro. But
I like that though. I
was gonna get into I forgot exactly what you said, but you was talking about I think like us having megalithic structures and all that back then. Basically us we was in like a prime time.
Right,
And earlier
age.
today, golden age. And earlier today I was watching high level conversations with 19 Keys and Dame Dash. And they had mentioned, Dame mentioned like we only use 8% of our brains nowadays. And you know, they was just going back and forth on their opinions of that. But I was trying to tie that back to back then. We was living in a time where we were so in tune with everything around us that the architecture and science and the math is there to prove it. You feel me? I forgot exactly what it was that you said that brought me to that, but that's really what I just wanted to touch on right there. Like it's evident. You get what I'm saying? Like
very evident.
Like the things we see today and that we praise today as, you feel me, top tier architecture, science, math, all those things. It could be argued that we on the simple. We doing this in a simple way. Like we doing it outside of its natural order. You get what I'm saying? Like with technology and all this stuff like that. Like we kind of playing it against ourselves versus back then they was like fully in alignment with the technology that they had, being fully in alignment with the nature around them and everything that they made up of inside of them and all that. So it's kind of like we on a lower level of intelligence. If you were to look at it, not even just spiritually, but historically, we are. I feel like,
man.
Well, as a mass, like right now, the masses, I kind of operating on a lower level of intelligence based on like the comparison of the times. That's what I was touching on.
I like that, man. I got turned up in work last week. Tell me why. One of my coworkers, who happens to be a Caucasian, I fuck with him though. You feel me? I was building with him the whole day, dropping knowledge on him the whole day. He had the nerve to come out his mouth and say the Egyptians were stupid and didn't know nothing. Literally, he
That's
came
how
out and
he was
said,
probably raised.
Who said that?
"This no, I'm talking about one of my coworkers." And then I'm telling you, I must have went in for at least like 45 minutes. It's Caucasian truck drivers in there too checking in. Like it's truck drivers checking in as Caucasian. They peeping the message I'm saying. I had to go in for about 40 minutes because that's over disrespectful. That hurt the body. You can't
For
never say
sure.
something like that. And you are on barbarian time, still eating pork and shit. So we gotta
For sure.
understand that.
Hey, cuz he can't. That's why he can't digest the knowledge, bro. Too much swine.
He can't. Speaking of knowledge,
He
today,
probably was sitting there looking lost.
man, he was, I ain't gonna lie, he low key was blue because like
Well, that shit
I
don't
was
make sense
treating
to
him. I
me.
wasn't trying to treat him, but I had to treat him because I had to bring up melanin recessive, melanin dominant, the sun killing motherfuckers. I had to bring all that up. So I know he hurt and he had to sit on that, but it had to be said.
You wild.
But no,
You
back
wild.
to what I was getting to. Oh yeah, I'm glad JD brought up knowledge today. What is the mathematics of today? Y'all got 5 seconds. Now I'll give y'all 15 seconds. What's the mathematics of today?
Is 6.
Hold on, God. Wait a minute. Shit, brother ain't. Knowledge.
I don't know the word for it, but it's 4.
The math. No, both of y'all are incorrect. The mathematics of today is 2. We got is 1, 12. It's 1, 20, 23, which would be 24. And then you got. Oh no, you correct. It is 4. I'm
It's
off.
4, bro.
I'm off.
It's 1, 5, and 7. That's 13. 13 is 4.
I'm all the way off. JD, did you get that?
Yeah, 4. So
What's 4? What's number 4 though?
freedom.
Freedom.
Yeah, 4 is culture of freedom.
Yep.
And what we doing today? We freeing the minds of our people. Fuck is you talking about?
For sure.
On the phone.
No. Cuz talking about on the phone.
He crazy.
But no, further to, let me get to this last point because we got about 20 minutes left. Let me get to this last point with these lost files. All right, now let me break down his story that was presented to us as kids. When we separate that word, what do we get? His story. Already is patriarchy. Already. By entailing it his story. Now what would be her story? That's what I want to know. Why, what would be her story? And when we looking at her story, we looking at big mama energy, we looking at the womb energy. We're looking at how Egypt, or Egypt is a Greek word, I'm sorry, how Al-Kebalan or Kemet was matriarch society. What does that mean? Woman is the highest. Damn near the most high. Why? Because that's what you come from. You come from that woman. You don't come from no man. Okay, you come from that woman. So So we ruled in matriarchy. For sure, matriarchy. You look at them pharaohs, you're going to see goddesses right there with them. Okay, you're going to see goddesses all over Egypt. You're going to see goddesses all over Egypt. What happened to the goddess? Like, why would they say, oh, you have to worship God? Why can't they just say worship goddess? So already it's starting off patriarchy. It's starting off like they're trying to excuse the woman, which we know what they did with the Holy Trinity in the Bible, the Father, Son, Holy Ghost. No female, no woman, no reproduction. That's not universal. That is not it. That's not how we was rocking. That is a false Holy Trinity. When we looking at the Holy Trinity, we looking at Asar, which would be Osiris. We're looking at Aset, which would be Isis. And we're looking at Heru, which will also be Horus. That is Father, Mother, Son. That is the Holy Trinity. That is the real Holy Trinity, okay? The real Holy Trinity. They confuse us by taking the woman out of the place. And you see across the world what they do to the woman. Just look how they treat the woman across the world. It just does, even how we treat our women today. Like I even had to learn that I had karma coming to me for how I treated women in the past. And that's something I had to sit with for a minute. Because I might have a daughter one day. So I have to understand that our main goal is for that woman. We are here to protect that woman. We are here to please that woman. We are here to basically amplify that woman. Okay? That woman is our territory. Now, we also must understand where her story has been not even taught to us to the point where her story is not a word. History is a word. Her story is not a word. So I would advise y'all to really look into.
That's a powerful point.
Yeah, her story is not a word, but history is. So we got to understand that we come from that woman, that mitochondria Eve gene. That is our most high, or our God, what some of y'all like to call it, until we develop ourselves into that living God or son of the goddess, which would make us a God. Okay, the goddess is going to birth a God. Okay, so we need to understand that we come from that woman, which is the most high. We are divinely connected. That is who we come from. That is the origin. Life comes from that woman, that womb. Okay? Let's get that understood. Kicking it to you, Gito.
Well, I just want the young gods and goddesses to understand that the conversation of men versus women should not be a matter of equality. It should be a matter of duality. And that's the first stepping stone to what the relationship of the two could bring. E-Man said it best, or Netta Nature said it best. Men plus women equals God. I don't know where he got that from. I heard it from Netta Nature, but man plus woman equal God, which is the same as knowledge plus wisdom equals understanding, which is the same as man plus woman equals child. So the conversation between the gods and goddesses should be a matter of duality and what role we gonna play for each other in building our empire, rebuilding the black household, things of that nature, not bickering amongst each other. You ain't got nowhere else to look. I mean, and if you looking outside of yourself, at least be in tune with yourself and love yourself and know that that's actually what you want and not what you think is best for you. You feel me? So
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna leave y'all with that. I gotta go make this run. It was a pleasure being here on the Elect the Godcast
Yes, sir.
with Netta Nature and GodBodyjd. You know, I'm gonna get on here again. For sure, for sure.
Yes, sir. Peace, God.
For sure. Peace, love, and light.
JD, you want to leave with something?
Alright, yeah. Let me let y'all know, man. Stay true to y'all Just stay true to yourself, man. Stay true to your roots, man. Embrace your culture and just stay 100, man. Yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Appreciate being on the podcast. JD shining out.
For sure, for sure. Peace, God.
Yeah.
This podcast was brought to you by Him Inc. All right, let me switch this camera over. This podcast was brought to you by Him Inc. Okay, I want you all to digest this message, and I want you all to sit on it. Do your own due diligence. Do your own research, and ask some questions. Put some questions in the comments. Hit my DM with some questions, and we'll throw them on here, and we'll adhere to the audience. Okay, we are here for the collective, and we are here for the benefit of the collective. This is your brother Netta Nature, also known as the Healing Guru, also known as the 15th Dalai Lama, also known as Ether. Okay, I'm signing out. It's the Elect Godcast, episode 2, The Lost Files. Peace, love, and light, family.